for the last almost 3 years, I have not had like a traditional job. I've been doing my own things. And what that has done, it's really made a big shift in how I think. Because finally, for the first time in my life, I have mental bandwidth to look around in the world and really see what's going on. Because while I was working 40 plus hours a week and had a young child, and like, God, when I was in school and working and having kids, like, I just didn't have bandwidth. It was like a practical issue of like, well, I don't have time to deal with like what's going on in the world because I got to focus on my own exhausting schedule in my own life. But the last few years, I've really just looked at humanity. Really, the past 4 years. Like, I've gotten to know people in prison over the last 4 years and their loved ones. I've traveled a lot. I've talked to so many male immigrants who are Uber drivers. I take a lot of Ubers when I travel, going to airports and coming home from airports. And so I talk to people. I love people, so I talk to people. I ask them questions. I'm curious. I listen to their stories. And also, I've looked at like the systems and the institutions which make up at least American society to some extent. The globe, the world. I've looked at what are the constituent component moving parts and what's not working well and what needs to be fixed. And so I've started to grasp like the way the world is working. And I've also seen about a quarter of the countries on planet Earth. I've been to 43 countries and there's about 195 of them. So I've gone and I've looked, I've visited, a lot of planet Earth. And there's this pattern I've noticed over and over again. And it's the root of like most of our problems. The root cause of most of humanity's problems is because we don't give full humanity to our fellow human beings when we should. Like, if someone looks different, thinks different, prays differently, with some different religion, votes differently, comes from a different socioeconomic status, comes from a different background, speaks a different language. There's something that a lot of people do, which is, well, they're other, and therefore they're less human than me. Anyone that's like me is more human. And anyone that's different than me, I can dismiss and not give credit to their humanity. And it's a really illogical thing to do because every human being is the same human being. Like, we're all part of Team Human. Like, we're different. Yes, we're different expressions, but we're all Homo sapiens, conscious, sentient human life forms. And so we all have the same fundamental human value just for being alive, in my view. Now, some decisions are better than others. Like, we're not all the same in our decisions. But I really think it's important that human beings treat each other like what Jesus said. Treat other people like you'd want to be treated. Like, if we just followed that basic suggestion from Jesus Christ, do unto others as you'd have done unto you, oh God, our world would be a different place. Our world would be a completely different place. But instead of treating people like we'd want to be treated, we use each other, we manipulate, we dehumanize, we abuse, we commoditize, we propagandize, did I say manipulate? Control, we exert power, we enslave, we subjugate, we discriminate. Like, we do so many horrible things to people, fellow humans. And it's like it's been normalized to treat each other poorly. Like, of the 195 countries on Earth, I think it's about a quarter of them are in some kind of conflict, or war, battles, or, conflict. the human species to me is just really like we're in some ways devolved from our animal ancestors. Like we do more harm to the planet. We do a lot of harm to each other. We do good for each other too, especially if we can profit off doing good. Then we really like to do that. You know, we're stuck on Earth for now anyway. We're stuck here. We got no backup. The vast expanse of space is scary, uninhabitable, hostile. We're stuck on an island in a never-ending expanse of physical reality. And in some ways, the task ahead of us, I believe, is, well, could we make it a heaven on earth? Because, and I shit you not, if you follow the futurists, if you follow the tech, if you make it to 2029, that is the point at which indefinite human life extension begins. Can begin. I suppose it depends on if you can afford the necessary medical care. Of course, healthcare has been highly financialized, so not everyone's created equal. The wealthy's lives, the people who have money, their lives are clearly going to be worth more. And that's how it's been for a long time, and that's wrong. Because every human life matters. More than money. But we don't act that way. It's like, what went wrong? What screw went loose? Fear's winning. We're making a hell. When fear wins, when greed wins, when selfishness wins, you make a hell on earth. At least for some. Maybe not for all. And when we offer understanding, acceptance, help, humanity to other human beings, when we do that good thing, when enough of us do it, man, that love starts to feel pretty good. And it makes it feel like, wow, we got a good thing going here. We got a good place. Everybody wants love. Everybody loves love. Who doesn't want love? But we don't really do it well. You know, we do hate and greed and fear and war and otherizing and racism and classism, selfishness. Like, that's what humanity's really good at. And so it sucks for people like me who are willing to be loving, willing to give humanity, willing to give forgiveness, willing to give compassion. Because I'm surrounded by a sea of beings who appear to not be willing to do that. So what does it even matter if I do? I can't make it. I cannot make a heaven on earth for all of us. We got to do it together. We have to collectively see with clarity and crisp, clear understanding that when we do harm to others, we make the world worse. When we do harm, let me say that again. Tired brain. When we do harm to others, especially with hate in our heart, it just drags down our world. And when we give kindness and concern and love and forgiveness, we elevate the other person and we elevate ourselves. We make a heaven on earth through treating other people like you want to be treated. It's like a game of who can be the most loving. That would fix our world. I don't know how we get there, though. There are so many people in survival mode nowadays. I suppose if we hang on long enough, here's something I want to share with y'all. So I've been following the leading futurists for a long time. I was very curious and fascinated by tech. I'm not good with tech, but I'm fascinated by like long-term what tech is going to make possible in our world. So I follow it at that level. And Ray Kurzweil was my favorite, and Martine Rothblatt. But Ray Kurzweil made it real clear, like what the future was going to look like based on technological predictions, which are somewhat predictable. on a curve. And he's been like 86% accurate on the timeline, like when things would happen and what would happen exactly. So I knew all of this was going to come 20 years ago. I knew the world would be bizarre like this. I knew indefinite human life extension was going to happen. I knew virtual reality would get so real that you wouldn't be able to tell it was a VR, which we haven't quite gotten to yet. I knew we were going to become more and more tech-like, and tech was going to become more and more human-like. I knew we'd get like virtual assistants and like chat GPT kind of a thing. And there's so much more bizarre stuff that's coming. You really should check out Ray Kurzweil's predictions. Maybe I can find a good link and post it in the comments below or the description box below. We could fuck up our world. We could. I mean, we got nuclear weapons. We got war machines. Our economic problems are really not being fixed. And so more and more people are... Here's what I wanted to paint for you, though. We're still in the old world. We're in it. Well, we're kind of in a transition period, I would say. From the old world and the old systems, which are still running, but not quite functioning, but they're running. The governments of the world, the dysfunctional economies, the criminal justice systems, the poorly managed and poorly delivered educational systems. We're still kind of in the old dysfunctional world, but we began a transition to the new tech world, which is more intelligent and adaptive and efficient and focused on human thriving for as many people. Like in the new world, it's going to be amazing. But it's the gap that worries me, because between the old world and the new world, people are going to lose jobs. We were already seeing it. Like jobs are being automated. I knew this was coming. I knew. If your job gets automated and you're a one-trick pony, you're going to be screwed. You are going to be out of luck. And because the new world is going to take time to get implemented, like if you're not intelligent and adaptive and good at learning and good at pivoting and being adaptable, like you're going to struggle, especially in the gap. In the old world, you could function, but the old world, the jobs are going away. They're being automated. And so for people who lived in debt and like didn't make good financial decisions, didn't save for a rainy day, didn't live below their means intentionally, and then jobs, the economy is struggling as we transition to new models. Well, there's a lot of people falling through the cracks right now. There's like so many unhoused people nowadays, especially in my home state of California. There are so many homeless people there. Unhoused. And that worries me, and I know people can survive living in tents and stuff, like they can make it, but that's not how our world should be. We should take better care of our disenfranchised folks. I think some people are just always going to need help. So there's a certain percentage of the human population that's just going to need a handout. And I think we probably give handouts away a little too much, and people become dependent and stop trying. Like there's some of that happens too. And that's another problem. But you got to look at why do people stop being functional too? And I think a lot of it is mental illness. I'm related to many people who can't work or don't work, haven't worked or done anything with their lives. And it's normally, they're mentally ill or they're addicted. And what that means underneath that is that they're they're so traumatized they can't function anymore. But no one talks about the trauma enough. They don't face, what if instead of having such a big war machine, we invested some of those resources into preventing trauma or treating trauma so people don't have to become mentally ill or drug addicted or maybe become homeless are unhoused. Trauma, it's like the root cause of so much bad in our world is trauma. And we do it to each other like stupid idiots. We haven't figured out the new world, the new way. And we really need to. I've spent most of my life not being religious. I left the Christian church and my Christian school at 18, and I really never went back because I realized I had been pretty brainwashed and manipulated. But I had 13 or 14 years of Christian schooling, and I learned what Jesus stood for. I learned what Jesus stood for, and I liked it. I decided to live my life that way. I still think he's a cool dude. I haven't stepped foot inside a church in decades because I don't need some manipulative, money-hungry, power-hungry human being interpreting the word of God for me. My own heart and my own gut will be my guide. Thank you very much. And Jesus isn't the only religious person. You know, the Tao Te Ching has some cool wisdom, and Buddhism. And I really like Buddhism. Yeah, what I know about it. Indigenous and native beliefs, I'm fascinated by, like, I think they're more in touch with the natural human state. So I really like to understand what they think about the nature of our reality. Like we've lost touch with reality in the process of becoming civilized and educated. It's like we got nose blind to the magic cosmic soup that we're swimming in and the bizarre tech reality that's coming our way, that's already here. I mean, I was born in 1981. I come from the land before the internet. I come from the time before cell phones. I had a pager in high school. I didn't even get my first cell phone till I was 18. I got email and America Online, same thing, when I was 15. My first email address was She-Ra15 because I liked She-Ra the cartoon. When I was like still a girl, you know. I was like coming of age. So I was hybrid. I was like halfway through high school when I got the internet. So I went halfway through high school going to the library and typing things on a typewriter. I learned to type on a typewriter. I could type fast too. I'm a fast typer. I type about 125 words a minute, something like that. But anyway, the world has changed so much in my lifetime with tech. Intelligence is what's going to save us. Intelligence and benevolence is what's going to help save humanity. And it really got to start with each one of us holding ourselves to a higher standard. Like, I can't tell you how many times I've had to make choices to do something really hard, but it was the right thing to do. You know, do unto others as you'd have done unto you. I can't tell you how many times I've gone out of my way to help people who needed it when there was nothing in it for me. And I don't regret it. I think I've got to learn to be more balanced and to do more self-care, because I can just go to town just helping other people. I've been told I have mom energy. And I'm a mom. I've always been motherly. I wanted to be a mom since I was a little girl. That was the most important job I was ever going to have, was being a good mom. And now I have a daughter. She turns 8 this Sunday, and she's just the light of my life. And she looks like me, and she's like a better version of me, you know? And I just love to see her thrive. I do everything I can to enrich her life. It's hard though. It's hard to like try to do work and be a mom and make money, and like it's all just really difficult, you know. It's the hardest job I've ever had. I have worked so hard. I mean, God, when my kid was little, I went a year without really sleeping. I just slept in 2 or 3 hour spurts for a year, you know, because that's what you got to do. You make it work. I didn't have a second kid. God, it's exhausting. I don't know how people do it with a bunch of kids. I'm like, the amount of energy I put into one, I was like, I don't know how many more times I can go through that. Yeah, so I just have one kid, and I love being a mom. And I think I'm sort of motherly to other people who aren't my kids. I just love to see people thrive, and I love to do whatever I can to help them thrive, you know, or reduce suffering. I always had this really clear sense that I wanted to help make the world a better place. I was so idealistic that way. Like, how can I help make the world a better place? And I've tried it in different ways, all different kind of jobs and relationships and volunteerism and donating and helping family, and oh God, it's been exhausting. It's been a lot of work. I don't care about making a lot of money, really. I mean, I need to get by and I need to be comfortable, and I like nice things and I like to travel, but I don't need to be mega wealthy. It's just like a little wealthy is fine for me, you know, successful, but, regular still, you know. I don't want to be part of the mega wealthy elite. I just don't. It's not me. I grew up with Depression era grandparents. I don't need to be that mega wealthy. I know when enough is enough. I know when I've gotten enough and other people could take the rest, you know. I don't need to have all the wealth. And I know when enough is enough for me. And I wish more people thought that way. Part of why we have so many poverty-stricken people is because wealth is hoarded in accounts of people who have it but don't need it, because they're afraid of not having enough, and they've got more than enough. They've got excessive amounts. Like the difference between $1 million and $1 billion is a lot. And I know a lot of these rich people, their wealth is in businesses and properties, and so it's not like they just have it in their account to give away, right? There's that to consider. But a lot of the people could give it away. And that, I really think that might be like a really good solution for humanity right about now. Like, hey, billionaires, humanity's really in a tight spot right now. Could you let some of the money out of your accounts and like give it to people who really, really need it? Like, can you save lives with your money? Can you improve lives with your money? The billionaires could make a real big difference right about now, because a lot of our problems could be fixed with money. Money can fix a lot of things. I don't live for money, and I don't need to be mega wealthy, but I know if I had to pick between not having money and having money is a good thing. You could buy what you need. You can fix problems. You could figure out how to fix problems when you got money, you know? By the way, I've done a couple of these videos on my back porch lately. Let me show you my back porch. Here's where I live. There's my front door. I'm in my basement. And here's my backyard with horrible grass and trees back there. I like to be amongst these trees. I love trees. And I've been really stressed. I don't have to stress over anything. Like, I could just take it easy, but I get so wrapped up in like fixing problems that I can't relax. And I care so much. I can't sleep. I get exhausted. I get burnt out. I just keep working like furiously because I want to help. Like, I've been working tirelessly and I don't even make money. I don't make money. I really don't. I make some money from real estate. And that's how I get by. I live simply nowadays. I drive a 6-year-old Honda minivan. And I live in my basement. And I work on causes I care about. because that's where life has taken me. At this particular time in human history, there are too many critical things happening. There are too many things and people and decisions on the line. And we've had some really dysfunctional leaders, really dysfunctional government systems, really corrupt governments, and like everyone just keeps assuming that they're going to fix our problems. There's 195 different countries on Earth, and we have global problems. They can, and a quarter of them are warring each other. Like, we can't depend on that dysfunctional monstrosity to save humanity. It needs to be the intelligent people getting together. The good-hearted, intelligent people are going to save us. So what I'd like to do, if anyone's watching this, I'd like to get together some of the most brilliant polymath geniuses alive today and create a strategic plan for humanity at the global scale. That's what I'd like to help arrange. And because I studied polymathy, a kind of genius, for my doctoral research, and because I've been active in that field since 2018 as a, one of the thinkers, the doers, the content creators in that space, and also because I've worked in government. I was an intern for the governor of California when I was 18. I was that much of an overachiever. And then when I was 24 and in my master's program, I interned at the White House, which was a dream come true. I started my career working at the Executive Office of the President as a non-political career civil servant for Presidents Bush and Obama. And then I transitioned to the Center for Leadership Development, where for 9 years I managed training programs for leaders from across the federal government. And for several years I managed only training programs for members of the senior executive service, which was the most elite senior cadre of leaders in the federal government. And I was on a 2-person team managing their educational programming. I've worked in some cool places. I've also studied America's criminal justice system and very deeply. And I see the brokenness and I get it. I have a pretty good grasp on what needs to change. Like, I've studied the government machine. I understand it from the inside pretty good. I haven't focused as much on politics, politics are the temporary people, and they come and go, and they usually make things worse in a lot of ways. In some ways they make it better. Politics, I just have never been, I was always civically engaged, but when I really reflect on how do you fix government, it's not just a political problem. It's not just who's president, because no matter who's president, the institutions and systems are still dysfunctional. No matter who's president, there's still a ton of government corruption. Government's very self-serving and very inefficient, very expensive. They charge us too much. They make themselves too big. They mass incarcerate. They trap mentally ill, poor, and addicted citizens in the prison system so they can have jobs. And that's why America has 25% of planet Earth's prisoners. Our government is committing a humanitarian crisis here in America, and we just go along with it. 1% of us are going to be sacrificed to the government. Oh well. Why do we accept this? We're paying for that. I pay a third of my limited income. For what? For modern day slavery? Because that's what we have. Look at the 13th Amendment. Yep. I love Abraham Lincoln, but he fucked up. In 1865, when the Civil War ended, thank God, what a bloodbath, that they made, because the Union won and not the Confederacy of the South, slavery was made illegal. It wasn't even that many generations ago that we had literal slavery here in the United States. And we're still recovering from that. We've never fully recovered from that. We have a stain on our country. We have so many stains, it's not even funny. We don't talk about it in polite company because we prefer the delusion that we're the best country on earth. I mean, I love America, I do. But I don't love our government. Different things. So yeah, I focus more on the non-political part of government, the part that stays there no matter who's elected. That's the part of government I was in for 15 years. Yeah. I also worked for the state of California for a little bit of time at UCLA. I think it's too broken to fix itself. That's my conclusion. It's too self-interested. Though people in it don't want to change jobs or change industries, they're resistant to change. For the most part, they're lazy and not the best and the brightest. Government has hired for mediocrity, and they've created a culture that drives mediocrity. It was so frustrating to be competent in government, to care, to want to make things better, but the bureaucracy and the leaders don't let you because they want to take it easy. They don't like change in government. Most change initiatives fail in government. So trying to get them to be ethical and competent and efficient and humane and smart, like, they're not interested in that. They're just interested in doing as little work as they can and getting the same paycheck every 2 weeks, no matter how poorly they perform, and getting their bonuses and their health care and their pensions. Like, that's what government employees are interested in. And they're very expensive. It's a kind of welfare state because they're not earning, like most government employees are overpaid for the level of work that they do, in my opinion. Yeah, I said it. There's a lot of mediocrity. There are good people in government too. There are. And the majority are good. I'll say that. The majority are good. But there's a big chunk who really put in a poor, who are poor performers, and they're allowed to stay. That's the culture government made for themselves. You can perform horribly and you won't lose your job. That's why people go to government. Job security. And that's what we're paying. American citizens pay for that. Why are we paying for that? If I'm paying for something, I want professional results. I'm not happy with the level of service our government is providing us. Are you? Who is? Nobody. But you know what? It's about 10 or 12% of our American population works for some form of local, state, or federal government. They're a significant part of our economy. And they don't want to go down. They don't want to lose their income. So, I get it. So what I'm going to propose is we keep paying them. We keep paying them. But we begin to shift their jobs. Yeah. Oh, yeah. What we do is we invest a ton more labor and resources into education. We need to research what could government do to reduce human suffering and enhance human thriving. And we poll a lot of people. We do our research. And once we figure out what a government that is successful looks like, then we somehow figure out how to transition all the old jobs from government into new jobs. And we need to have real clear expectations for, like, performance expectations. So the old world where people could get away with not performing well and still get paid anyway, like, that has to stop. I'm sorry. But, there has to be some level of standards that are appropriate for government employees. I'm sorry. You can't believe Some people have a job and it's like they probably do 10 minutes of work a day. There are so many cases of abuse, and now a bunch of them just work from home. They will make their jobs minimal. A lot of them. Not everybody, okay? Not everybody. But I worked in that machine. I knew the people. I was in it. I saw what I saw, and I'm telling you what I saw. Most of them pretty good. A chunk of them worthless, pretty much. Or difficult, cranky, doesn't want to do work, doesn't want to deal with change, just there for the paycheck. There was a chunk of people like that. Or just idiots, like, why did they hire this person? This person is stupid. I mean, it was a heartbreak of a kind for me, because I went to government thinking this is the thing that makes the world better. And I got there and I realized, oh, what a dysfunctional monstrosity. Ugh, yeah. And nobody holds them accountable. Nobody. The politicians are held accountable by us, by the media, by the non-political arm of government. The politicians are held accountable. However, the non-political part of government, the post office, the DMV, Department of Education, Department of Justice, like on and on and on and on. Who's auditing them? Who's holding them responsible? Who's managing the contract? And the answer is, well, nobody. I mean, in theory, the political leaders are, but they're in the minority. So whatever they want to do, they have to depend on the non-political arm of government to do it. But guess what? It's the non-political, lazy, inept group that go there for job security and minimal expectations. Well, they're the majority. So what the politicals want doesn't really matter. We know who runs the show, and it's not the politicals. Oh no, honey. This is why our government is so broken and why the politicians can never fix it, because no one's been really honest about what the actual problem of government's dysfunction is. And the actual root cause of the government's dysfunction is that the government is running it for their benefit and no one is holding them accountable. The non-political part of government. We only look to the politicians and hold them responsible. But nobody holds the more junior staff, who are the majority. The non-political staff, they do whatever they want, which is take it easy, usually. Don't work too hard. You know, some people do. I was one of them. There are some really great professionals in government. But overall, that machine is highly dysfunctional and underperforming. It was so frustrating to teach leadership development, to teach organizational development, to teach like how to be a high functioning organization. Like that's the field I worked in from government. And we didn't even practice what we preached. Like we all talked about that. Like, yeah, we're teaching these people how to be good leaders, but we don't even do all this stuff we're telling them to do. So it was like, it was exceptionally rare in government to find a high functioning division. I worked in one time. It was a rare gem to be in a part of government that was, the team was functional and happy. And it was finance. Clear cut, professional work, happy part of government, working in a finance office. Yeah, but anyway, I guess I could probably wrap up soon. This was a pretty long 40-minute rant on my back porch. I guess let me end with this. Humanity's in trouble. Someone's got to figure it out. It ain't going to be the government's going to do it. They're real dysfunctional. Who could figure it out? Who could help? Well, I'd like to suggest that we bring in the most brilliant polymath geniuses alive today. I could handpick them. I studied polymathy at the doctoral level. We need to use AI. We need to revive people like Albert Einstein, Martin Luther King through AI. They can have a seat at the table. Jesus Christ can have a seat at the table. And we need to figure out a strategic plan for humanity at the global scale. How does everybody get their basic needs met? How do we do that? And we come up with a plan. We do studies. We investigate. We learn. We don't just come up with random bullshit answers. We do our homework and we come up with a really good plan through the power of learning. Unlearning, relearning, understanding, asking questions. I've developed something called the polymathic method for this purpose. And I can help facilitate the process amongst the geniuses, the polymath geniuses. Definitely want Martine Rothblatt there and Ray Kurzweil and Elon Musk and Richard Branson, like all those people. Oprah Winfrey. I mean, and no sociopaths or psychopaths or narcissists are welcome. We only want people there who really care to reduce human suffering and enhance human thriving. We're not interested in people there for their own benefit or profit. We got to get the right people in the room and come up with the plan. And once we figure out the plan, we will disseminate it to the governments of the world. That's what I would propose, and see what happens. If they will not comply, we figure out a plan B. But hopefully we won't need to figure out a plan B. We pay their salaries. If they will not comply, we just all stop paying taxes altogether at once. And then they have to shut down. If they cannot service us in the way we request and demand based on the payment we make them, if they won't do the job we've requested, if they won't transition to education and healthcare and mental health care and reducing trauma and stopping modern day slavery and stopping mass incarceration, like if they won't do all the things we require, then we need to fire them. But hopefully they won't make us do that, because they're about 12% of our economy. We don't want to fire 12% of our economy. The economy will crumble. We want to keep paying their salaries, but we're going to need them to shift their jobs. We're going to need more people working in the schools, more people working in community centers, more people working in mental health, more people working on some content creation, maybe even. We need to shift education. It needs to be designed for continual, lifelong, life-wide, self-directed learning. And yeah, education needs to be totally made more efficient and more effective. We need to stop accidental pregnancies by some method. People who aren't really ready to have kids shouldn't be having kids. It's ruining our world. That's who's in prison, a lot of them. That's who's living on the streets, people who didn't really have good families and had early childhood trauma. So we've got to stop early childhood trauma. Like, if we could just figure that out, like, how do we reduce that would really fix a lot in our world. We may need the billionaires to give us a loan or give us a donation to make some of this possible. I don't know. But the point is, we've got to learn our way to the solution. We've got to fix our world in a way that's intelligent and adaptive and learns as it goes. The old, rigid, bureaucratic structures don't work anymore. They never really did. But in modern day, they really are failing. It just becomes more and more obvious how that old, antiquated, broken machine just isn't functioning well. And it's dragging us down. It's making a lot of us, imagine if we didn't have to pay a third of our incomes in taxes. Or if we could only pay like 5% of our income, because it was such an efficient machine. Government could be way leaner. It's so big. The federal government is so fucking big. And it's a way that they victimized us, in my view. So I know it's a lot to take in, what I've proposed, but I'm just going to put it out there. We've got to organize. We've got to figure some stuff out. I volunteer as tribute to help organize that effort, but I need support and resources. You know, I need access to the right people, and we might need some money. I don't know. I know it's a really bizarre way to think about creating a new world, but we're at that point. It should be obvious to everybody that the old systems are failing us. We need to figure out the new way. Well, how do we do that? Well, we got to start talking about it and organizing around that. So that's my proposal. Okay, I think I'm gonna just sit here and relax now. It's turning to nighttime. It's turning dark in my backyard. I might do these more regularly. Just come out here in my back porch and, you know, sort of talk out loud about the way how I think. I think all the time. I wish I could turn it off. I got an internal monologue doing some sort of analysis, some sort of work, some sort of productivity, some sort of, I got to do this. Like, I am just always working. Like, my brain has just always been like, let me always constantly be learning. Let me doing something of value. It's really tiring, actually. Now I'm 43 and I'm like, I don't have the energy I once did, you know? But my mind just won't stop. I care so much that we figure out how to make planet Earth a better place for more people. We gotta, I'm willing to say weird things and come on video and tell you my stream of consciousness so you could see the way I think. And hopefully you see what I see, that this is true. We do need to figure out a new way, and it probably makes sense to organize the geniuses. That's what I propose. Okay, bye.